A disabled black girl joins a new school, but three spoiled rich girls immediately start bullying her. And when the millionaire's daughter shoves her wheelchair just to make a viral video, everything changes. The clip blows up online, police arrest the billionaire girl, and the case lands in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, where the truth he reveals leaves everyone in shock. Friends, watch this video till the very end. You will not believe what happened inside that courtroom. If you are enjoying the story, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Which city are you watching from? Zariah Coleman pushed her wheelchair across the cracked concrete of Franklin Ridge High's front walkway, the morning sun catching the metal rims as if spotlighting her arrival. Her hands trembled slightly, not from weakness, but from the familiar ache of stepping into a new school where she already knew exactly how people would look at her. Her mother's voice from earlier that morning echoed gently in her memory. "Baby girl, you are stronger than they'll ever know." But strength didn't stop the stairs. The moment she rolled through the glass doors, the hallway fell into that strange hush she had grown used to. Students parted like she was something fragile, something foreign. Some gave pitying half-smiles. Some whispered behind textbooks. Others avoided her completely, glancing at their phones as if she didn't exist at all. Zariah kept her chin up, but inside, her heart curled up tight. She maneuvered toward her homeroom, wheels squeaking against the polished floor. Lockers slammed open and shut, footsteps rushed past her. But she moved like a lone boat in a choppy sea, present but unnoticed, until she reached the end of the hall. Three girls blocked her path. Not just any girls, Franklin Ridge's infamous trio of trouble. Brianna Lowe, with her flawless hair and that billionaire daughter arrogance almost dripping off her. Madison Clark, the one who laughed first and loudest at anything cruel. And Talia Finn, always recording, always posting, always hungry for attention, no matter who got hurt. Brianna crossed her arms, eyeing Zariah's wheelchair up and down with a smirk. "Well, if it isn't the new girl with the built-in seat." Madison giggled. "Guess she'll never need to look for a chair in class." Talia lifted her phone, already filming. "Say hi to TikTok." Heat rose in Zariah's cheeks, but she said nothing. Silence was her shield. She tried to roll past them. Brianna stepped forward and tapped the wheel with her expensive sneaker, not hard, just dismissive. "Relax. It's a joke." She leaned closer, whispering, "Unless you can take one." Zariah swallowed hard and kept moving, refusing to let them see how deeply the words cut. But the day didn't get better. In the cafeteria, she balanced her tray on her lap, carefully steering toward a small empty table. She had almost reached it when Madison accidentally swung her backpack into Zariah's chair. The tray flipped, food sliding onto the floor and splattering across her jeans. Laughter burst around her like fireworks. "Oh no," Talia said mockingly. "Gravity isn't your friend today." Someone filmed. Someone snickered. Someone whispered, "Poor thing." Zariah blinked fast, forcing her tears not to fall. She bent to gather what she could, but her hands shook too violently. A lunch aide rushed over to help, but Zariah whispered, "It is fine. I'm fine," even though her voice cracked. That night, at home, she stared at her reflection. She wanted to scream. She wanted to disappear. But she didn't. She simply breathed, long and slow, reminding herself she had survived worse. The next day, things escalated. After school, Zaria tried to take the ramp down toward the courtyard. Brianna and her friends were waiting. Talia stood ready with her phone. "Okay, Bree," Madison whispered. "This angle will look great." Before Zaria could react, Brianna grabbed the handles of her wheelchair and yanked it backward. Zaria's body jerked, her backpack flying off. The phone captured everything: Brianna's laughter, Madison's cheer, Zaria's gasp of terror. Then the video went online, and the world exploded. Within hours, hashtags spread across every platform. Millions watched the clip, outraged at what they called the cruelty at Franklin Ridge. Strangers demanded accountability. Journalists started calling. Disability rights activists tagged the school board. Comment sections flooded with fury. The next morning, squad cars rolled into the Lowe family's mansion driveway. Officers walked past fountains and polished marble steps and arrested Brianna Lowe on charges of assault and harassment. Her smirk was gone. Her father yelled at the officers, threatening lawsuits. And Zaria, sitting at home watching it all unfold on the morning news, felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not victory, not peace, just a tremor of fear. Because she knew the real battle was only beginning. The day after Brianna's arrest, Franklin Ridge High transformed into a place Zaria barely recognized. News vans lined the sidewalk like a parade of judgment. Reporters hovered outside the gates, microphones ready, hoping to capture a glimpse of the girl in the wheelchair who had become the center of a national conversation overnight. Students whispered in clusters, their eyes darting toward Zaria the moment she entered the hallway. Some wore guilt on their faces. Others looked at her like she was suddenly important, famous even. But fame didn't feel like power to her. It felt like pressure. She kept her head low as she rolled through the crowd, pretending not to hear the murmurs. "That is her, the video girl? She didn't even fight back. I feel so bad. Think she'll get money from the lawsuit?" Zaria shut it all out. She didn't want pity. She wanted normal. But normal was gone. Principal Herrera's voice boomed across the intercom. "Students, please remember that harassment of any kind will not be tolerated. Counselors are available." She turned it off. Just noise. Later that afternoon, police detectives arrived at the school to take complete statements. They escorted Zaria to a small conference room. She sat across from two officers, her mother beside her, gently smoothing Zaria's sleeve. "Miss Coleman," one detective began softly, "we know you've already talked with us briefly, but today we need the full picture. Whatever you're comfortable sharing." Zaria hesitated. Her throat tightened. But something inside her, something tired of being silent, pushed her forward. She told them everything, every name, every insult, every lunch that had been dumped, every shove, every whispered humiliation. She explained how she felt invisible most days, until the moments she wished she was invisible. The detectives listened, really listened, and she felt a strange relief, a weight lifting as each truth left her chest. Her mother wiped tears silently. When the officers left, they shook Zaria's hand and promised, "We'll make sure the court understands exactly what happened." But the internet was 2 steps ahead. By evening, talk shows discussed the case. Disability advocates defended Zaria with passion. News anchors replayed the video again and again, dissecting every second. Hashtags calling for justice trended across the country. Some commenters called Brianna a monster. Others blamed her parents. Some demanded she be expelled forever. And mixed in that noise were messages calling Zaria inspirational or tragic. Both labels made her uncomfortable. She was just trying to survive high school. 2 days later, the courthouse sent an official notice. Case assigned. Judge Frank Caprio, Providence Municipal Court hearing scheduled. Friday, 10 a.m. The moment Zaria saw the name, her heart stilled. Judge Frank Caprio. She knew him. Everyone did. Clips of his compassion-filled rulings trended online daily. He was known for listening first, judging second. Known for offering mercy when the law seemed too rigid, yet holding people accountable when necessary. Still, Zaria felt nervous, terrified even. Facing Brianna again inside a courtroom felt like stepping into the lion's mouth. When Friday arrived, Zaria wore a simple blue blouse and rolled her chair beside her mother through the courthouse doors. Cameras flashed around her. Deputies guided them past the crowd toward the courtroom. The room buzzed with low murmurs, wooden benches filled to capacity. Disability activists, teachers, students from school, even strangers who felt connected through the viral video. Then Brianna entered. Not in expensive clothes, not with her usual swagger. Dressed in a plain white shirt, hands trembling, eyes swollen from crying. Her father sat behind her, jaw tight, glaring at everyone as if the world owed him an apology. When the bailiff announced Judge Frank Caprio's entrance, the room rose. Judge Caprio took his seat, adjusting his glasses, scanning the courtroom thoughtfully. His eyes softened when they landed on Zaria, then shifted toward Brianna. "This is not a simple case," he began, his voice warm yet serious. "This is about harm and responsibility, about the weight of our actions, and especially about the way we treat those who move through this world differently." He paused, letting the words settle. The courtroom felt breathless. Brianna's attorney stood first, trying to paint Brianna as a misguided teenager, overwhelmed by online attention. But Judge Caprio held up his hand gently. "We will get to that," he said. "But first, we will hear from the young woman who was hurt." Zaria inhaled slowly. Her hands tightened on the wheels of her chair. Her mother whispered, "You've got this, baby." And with the entire courtroom watching, some with sympathy, some with curiosity, some with guilt, Zaria Coleman found her voice rising for the first time. She didn't know that the moment she spoke, the story would take a turn none of them were prepared for. The courtroom grew impossibly quiet as Zaria adjusted her chair closer to the witness stand. Her palms were damp, her heart thudding so loudly she wondered if the microphone might pick it up. Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly, giving her a gentle nod and unspoken reassurance that she could take her time. She glanced at Brianna. The girl who once strutted through school hallways like she owned them now sat frozen, her expensive mascara smudged from earlier tears, her hands locked tightly together. But Zaria didn't focus on her long. She looked straight at the judge. "My name is Zaria Coleman," she began, voice trembling but determined. "I didn't want any of this attention. I never wanted to be anyone's headline. I just wanted to go to school in peace." Her words broke the silence like a fragile glass cracking. She told the court about the first week of school, the staring, the whispers, the pitying smiles that felt heavier than insults. She explained how she tried to blend in, to be invisible. But Brianna and her friends wouldn't let her. She described the cafeteria incident, the laughter when her food spilled, the sneer Brianna gave her that made her feel like nothing. "It wasn't just one time," Zaria said softly. It was every day. Every single day she reminded me that I wasn't normal enough. Her voice wavered, but she didn't break. I didn't tell anyone because I was scared people would think I was weak, or worse, that I deserved it. A ripple of sadness moved through the courtroom. Even Brianna lowered her head. Then the prosecutor stepped forward. "Your Honor, with permission, the state would like to present additional evidence." Judge Caprio nodded. The lights dimmed, and a screen was pulled down. Video clips began to play, not the viral one everyone had seen, but new ones captured by students who couldn't bear the guilt anymore. The first showed Brianna brushing against Zariah's chair deliberately, knocking her books to the floor. The second caught Madison and Talia mocking Zariah's speech during class. The third from the cafeteria camera revealed the entire lunch tray incident. Gasps echoed across the room. Then the prosecutor said, "This next piece is crucial," and pulled up an audio file. A recording taken from a hallway microphone the school had installed after a vandalism incident. Brianna's voice rang out clearly. "I swear, she gets attention just for sitting in that stupid chair. If she didn't want to get laughed at, she shouldn't come here looking so helpless. Dad says people like her always play the victim." The crowd murmured, anger rising like heat off pavement. Judge Caprio's jaw tightened. But the prosecutor wasn't done. "Your Honor, we discovered additional conversations." On the screen appeared text messages between Brianna, Madison, and Talia. "Brianna, we need a bigger reaction. Dad says viral clips need shock value." Talia, "Want me to record again?" Brianna, "Yeah, something dramatic. She moves slow, easy target." A sickening silence swallowed the room. Brianna blinked fast, visibly shaking. The prosecutor looked at the judge. The bullying was not spontaneous teenage behavior. It was encouraged, strategically orchestrated. Judge Caprio turned slowly to Brianna. "Young lady, did you send these messages?" Brianna hesitated a long, painful pause, then nodded with barely audible shame. "Yes, but it's not what you think." "Then tell us what we should think," the judge said softly. Her breath shuddered. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "My father, he told me I had to build a social media presence. He said I needed to be fearless and entertaining. Every night he'd ask what content I had. If I didn't have anything good, he'd yell, throw things, tell me I was ungrateful, that I'd embarrass him." Her voice cracked. "He said people love videos that make them laugh, even if someone gets hurt. He said Zariah was perfect because she stood out. He told me to make her the joke." A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. But then Brianna added something that froze everyone in place. "He told me if I didn't keep making the videos, he wouldn't pay for college. And he'd take my car. And he'd make sure everyone knew I was a failure." Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. She wasn't the girl in the viral video anymore. She was a teenager unraveling in front of the entire country. Her father, sitting behind her, shot up from his seat. "Brianna, stop talking right now," but deputies blocked him. Judge Caprio's voice cut through the chaos, firm and sharp. "Sit down, Mr. Lowe. Now." The billionaire father glared, but he lowered himself slowly, fury burning in his eyes. Zariah watched it all, stunned. Part of her wanted to feel sympathy for Brianna. Another part remembered every humiliation, every tear, every night she cried herself to sleep. Judge Caprio folded his hands. "This case just shifted. We will need deeper investigation." Then the prosecutor approached the bench with a sealed file. "Your Honor, there is more." The judge opened it. His eyes widened. Then he closed it slowly, deliberately, and said, We are dealing with something far more serious than bullying." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Zaria S. heart pounded. Brianna S. father looked like he was about to explode. And for the first time since the video went viral, Zaria felt fear again. Because she realized this was indeed just the story of a bully and a victim. This was the beginning of something much bigger and much darker. Judge Caprio held the sealed file in his hands for several long seconds, the entire courtroom frozen in anticipation. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that made even the deputies straighten. "What I have just read is deeply troubling," he said quietly. "We are no longer dealing with a simple juvenile case." Brianna shrank in her seat, eyes red and terrified. Her father, Robert Lowe, tensed like a man ready to lunge at anyone who challenged him. Zaria watched the judge carefully, her heart thudding so hard she felt the vibration through her wheelchair. The prosecutor stepped forward. "Your Honor, with the court's permission, Detective Sullivan will present our findings." A tall, stern-faced detective approached the stand, clutching a thick binder. He opened it and began to speak. "Over the last 48 hours, we executed a lawful search of Mr. Robert Lowe's electronic accounts, both public and encrypted private profiles. What we found was extensive." Robert Lowe jerked forward. "This is outrageous. You had no right, Mr. Lowe." Judge Caprio cut in calmly. "You will remain silent unless spoken to." The billionaire clenched his jaw, eyes full of boiling rage. Detective Sullivan continued, clicking a button on a remote. The courtroom screens lit up, showing a password-protected page titled, "The Laugh Room Private Group, Invitation Only." A horrible stillness settled over everyone. Zaria felt goosebumps crawl up her arms. "This," Sullivan said, "is an online community run by Mr. Lowe, a group dedicated to so-called humor clips. Clips that mock, embarrass, demean, and endanger minors. Many of these videos appear to have been recorded without the victim's knowledge or consent." Brianna S.'s face drained of all color. The detective switched slides. Security footage of a kid slipping on ice, a student tripping in the hallway, a shy boy crying after being shoved. Laughter from adult voices in the background. Mr. Lowe monetized these clips, Sullivan stated, and encouraged his daughter to generate more content, including the viral video involving Ms. Coleman. Gasps rippled across the room like a shockwave. Zaria felt her breath lodge painfully in her chest. The bullying hadn't simply been cruelty from spoiled teenagers. It had been directed, harvested, profited from. Sullivan continued, "Text messages show Mr. Lowe pressuring Brianna daily. He demanded she produce something viral, specifically targeting students who were socially vulnerable." A final message appeared on the screen, one from Robert to his daughter. "If you want to stay relevant, hit the weak spots. It's what people enjoy. You're not doing enough." A sickened murmur rose from the gallery. Brianna covered her mouth, sobbing. "I didn't want this. I swear I didn't." Her father glared at her. "Say nothing more." Judge Caprio turned toward him, his voice hardened now. "Sir, your behavior both online and toward your child will be evaluated separately and thoroughly." A deputy approached Robert. "Sir, stand up." "What?" Robert barked. "You can arrest me." I'm a respected Judge Caprio didn't raise his voice, but the authority in his tone was absolute. "Mr. Lowe, you are under investigation for child endangerment, coercion, exploitation, and harassment involving minors." Robert exploded with fury. "You have no idea who I am. I'll bury this court in lawsuits." 2 deputies took his arms. "You will calm yourself immediately," Judge Caprio said sharply, "or we will add contempt of court to the list." The entire courtroom trembled with the intensity of the moment. As Robert Lowe was escorted out, shouting threats and curses, Brianna collapsed into her chair, broken, shaking uncontrollably. Her attorney rushed to her side. "Brianna, breathe. Look at me. You're okay." But she wasn't okay. And for a moment, neither was Zaria. Because everything suddenly felt more complicated. The girl who shoved her, mocked her, humiliated her, that girl now looked like a frightened child who had been manipulated, used like a puppet for her father's online cruelty empire. Zaria didn't forgive her. But she understood her differently now, and that confused her more than anything. Judge Caprio's voice broke through the tension. "We will take a recess for 1 hour. This case has evolved into something requiring careful judgment." The gavel tapped lightly. As the courtroom emptied, Zaria remained still, watching the empty judge's bench, unsure what justice even meant anymore. Her mother knelt beside her and whispered, "You didn't cause any of this, sweetheart. Remember that." But Zaria wasn't as certain. For the first time, she wondered if justice was ever simple, and whether the truth they had just uncovered was going to change everything again. And somewhere deep inside, she sensed the most emotional part of this case had not even begun yet. By the time the courtroom reconvened after recess, the crowd had doubled. People filled every bench, every standing corner, every inch near the doors. Reporters whispered urgently. Students from Franklin Ridge High sat with bowed heads, some ashamed, some anxious. Disability rights advocates held quiet signs of support. A few even wore shirts that said, "Dignity is a right." Zaria rolled in slowly, her mother beside her, gripping her hand for strength. She didn't feel small today. She felt seen, and that terrified her almost as much as it empowered her. Brianna entered moments later, led gently by her attorney. Her shoulders hunched inward, her eyes swollen, her face pale. She looked like a girl who had fallen off the pedestal she didn't even realize she was standing on. Without her father behind her, she looked impossibly alone. When Judge Frank Caprio returned, the room rose. He sat, folded his hands, and took a long breath before speaking. "In my years on this bench," he began, "I have seen anger, pain, and cruelty. But rarely have I seen a case that reveals so much about how our society fails both victims and perpetrators." Everyone listened with stillness so complete that even the fluorescent lights seemed quieter. He turned first to Brianna. "Miss Lowe, your actions toward Ms. Coleman were deliberate, harmful, and cruel. You caused emotional trauma to a young woman who already faced daily challenges most of us cannot imagine." He let the words sink in, then continued, softer. "But you were also a child manipulated by a parent who exploited your insecurities and pressured you to inflict pain for entertainment." Brianna's shoulders shook. Tears streamed freely. Her attorney placed a gentle hand on her back. Judge Caprio shifted his gaze to Zaria. "And Ms. Coleman, your courage throughout this ordeal has reminded us all that dignity cannot be taken away by cruelty. You have shown resilience, grace, and strength." Zaria blinked hard. Her throat tightened with emotion, but she held it in. The judge then read the verdict. "For the charges against Brianna Lowe, the court orders the following: 1 year of juvenile rehabilitation, mandatory counseling focusing on empathy, anger control, and accountability, 300 hours of community service, specifically with disability rights organizations, participation in a supervised restorative justice program. A formal written apology delivered in person to Ms. Coleman, expulsion from the Laugh Room private group, and a ban from any such online communities. Brianna nodded slowly, tears dripping down her hands. But then Judge Caprio added something no one anticipated. This court will also implement a new restorative education initiative at Franklin Ridge High. Both Ms. Coleman and Ms. Lowe will participate not as adversaries, not as forced friends, but as human beings, learning how cruelty evolves and how it ends. The courtroom murmured in surprise. Zaria inhaled sharply, unsure how she felt. The idea of sitting in the same room as Brianna again made her chest tense, but something inside her whispered that change required discomfort. Judge Caprio paused, letting the tension breathe. "And now," he said gently, "I ask both young women to stand or remain seated before the court." Brianna rose shakily. Zaria stayed in her chair, lifting her head. "Miss Lowe," the judge said, "do you have something you wish to say?" Brianna wiped her eyes with trembling fingers. When she looked at Zaria, her voice cracked painfully. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't see you. I saw views, followers, pressure. I saw what my father expected. I didn't think about how much it hurt you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to change. I don't want to be that girl anymore." Every word shook with truth. Zaria stared at her for a moment that felt like forever. Then she spoke softly, with a maturity far beyond her age. "I'm not ready to forgive you. Maybe one day. But I don't want you to hate yourself. I just want you to never do this to anyone again." Brianna nodded quickly, tears falling harder. "I won tea, I promise." Judge Caprio smiled gently, the kind of smile that carried both sadness and hope. "This is how healing begins," he said. The gavel struck. Case closed. Outside, the courthouse steps were crowded with reporters shouting questions, camera flashes exploding like fireworks. Deputies shielded Zaria and her mother as they made their way through. But Zaria didn't stop to give interviews. She rolled forward into the crisp autumn air, breathing deeply, letting the sunlight warm her face. Students who once ignored her now approached with soft apologies, timid smiles, sincere words. She didn't respond to all of them, but she heard them, and hearing mattered. As she reached the sidewalk, her mother leaned down and kissed the top of her head. "You did it," she whispered. "You spoke your truth." Zaria looked out across the bustling city street, her wheelchair moving over fallen leaves. For the first time since arriving at Franklin Ridge High, she didn't feel like a frightened girl in a hostile world. She felt strong. She felt seen. She felt whole. Because justice wasn't just a courtroom outcome, it was reclaiming her own voice. And as she rolled away from the courthouse, she understood something powerful. Her story didn't end here. It was only beginning. And that, folks, is how a single moment of courage turned an entire courtroom upside down. This case proved that justice doesn't care about money, power, or last names. It cares about the truth. If this story hit you the way it hit us, tap that like button. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss another story. And before you head out, drop a comment and let us know where in the US are you watching from. See you in the next video.